Hi everyone, this is Katie Groves, and I want to start by saying that I am in the midst of really heavy integration right now. For the last few days I've been trying to make this video, but I have not found it possible to even attempt it because things have been so deeply in flux inside my system. But I've decided that I should just go ahead and push through the resistance I feel and give this a try now. So that is what I'm doing. I've had to try this multiple times and it keeps not working out, but I think this time I'm going to get it. So this video is about food and homeless self-care and survival. And like the other videos in this series, my focus is just going to be on what I and my partner are currently doing to take care of ourselves. And we're going to talk a little bit about things that we've done in the past, but mostly just focus on the present, because that just seems to be what we're most capable of and the way in which we are generally going to be most helpful, I believe. So until recently, I was on food stamps, and so was my partner. And between the two of us, we got a little under $400 a month, and that pretty much covers all our needs. We have found it difficult to budget them, especially with littles. For people with dissociative systems, this can be a huge thing, is littles trying to overspend. But for the most part, we found that to be livable. However, unfortunately, to maintain those benefits, we've had to have contact with government bureaucrats. And since becoming homeless, again, we have found that the targeting has escalated around it, and we went through a bunch of trauma around targeting with the food stamps that have led us to recently decide that it's not worth it to us. We can survive without ours. We could even survive without our partners, but right now he's choosing to stay on them, so we are sharing them with him. And that requires us to budget really carefully because it is just an extremely small amount of money. And if it wasn't for the little bit of money that he gets from his family for food, I just don't think that we would be very well off right now. That being said, there are so many different ways to get food that aren't just cash or food stamps. I do think that as time goes on, I will find myself in a deeper and deeper place of trust with the universe and openness to more avenues. Some of the ways that I am currently getting food, other than the stamps, as kind of buffed by my partner's parents' help, is simply food that I find on the street. Now, I have to be very careful with this because it can be gnarly, but basic tools I use for staying safe around food are I look very carefully at it before I eat it, if I can. This is so basic, but with the dissociative disorder and with my autism, that can make it difficult to process things that are right in front of me if I'm overloaded. I have to be very careful. I recently had a traumatic experience I'm not going to go into where I took a bite out of something I should not have taken a bite out of. I was specifically in a little altar, and it was not pleasant. So yeah, looking before I actually take a bite is a huge one. Really trying to take in what I see, and if I don't feel capable of processing, I try to do something to ground myself, or release overstimulation so that I can process what I'm seeing. And and asking someone else if they think that the food is okay. I usually will ask my partner if he thinks something's okay before I will eat it, and that helps a lot. And also noticing the temperature. If it's something really perishable, and it clearly was once hot, but it's not anymore, I try to be careful unless it's so cold outside that I think the air is sufficiently working as a refrigerator and the food is safe. It's really just something that I have to use my instincts about, common sense, basic stuff, and really it just comes down to being grounded enough to be in touch with those instincts. I really think that's like the most basic homeless survival tool that I can offer to anyone across the board is mindfulness, being grounded. That's like the biggest life advice I think that I could ever give to anyone under any circumstance, but it's absolutely critical on the street to be as grounded as possible, in my opinion. And then, of course, there is panhandling / begging. There's also street performance. These are ways to make money as well as food. I'm going to do a separate video in which I specifically talk about making money. But I will say about food, something that I definitely recommend to people is if you're going to fly a sign, I definitely recommend putting on that sign some things you actually want in addition to cash. If people give you cash, that can be really nice because then you can have more flexibility for what you're going to spend it on. But I found that people are often really receptive to me when I explicitly state what I need. The other day was my birthday, and some people or somebody stole from me, and I was without some very basic things I needed. And so I made a sign saying that it was my birthday and I just got robbed and I need, and then I listed 4 things. I said food, weed, tampons, and Tylenol. So I was on my period and someone stole all my tampons, and I was not very happy about that. But when I put those things explicitly on a sign and I sat in front of a pharmacy where someone could buy all those things through me, after just a few minutes, somebody came up to me, this older lady, middle-aged woman who had kids my age, I guess, that's what she told me. She felt moved by my sign, and she didn't get me any weed, which I didn't expect from her, but she got me the tampons, some ibuprofen instead of Tylenol, and she got me a juice. Don't know why, but she seemed like she was more interested in getting me something to drink than something to eat. Don't really know what the deal is with that, but I didn't question it, and I graciously accepted what she was giving me, as it did help a lot. But yeah, putting that stuff on the sign helped motivate this person to help me. I don't think this woman would have ever given me cash if I had just been asking for cash, but because I explicitly stated my needs and she recognized them as reasonable, she felt moved to help me fulfill them. So that really is a huge thing. I know somebody on the street right now who will explicitly state what kind of food he wants to eat and is willing to eat on a sign that he holds up. And it's food that can be got in the area, like right nearby. And I just think that kind of thing can be so useful. So another thing is soup kitchens. We have a really hard time with soup kitchens usually because there's so much energy there. Going to homeless service centers can be really difficult for us, especially soup kitchens, because there can be so much chaos, so many people with so much intense energy, both homeless and not homeless, and there can be abusive people who staff the places, and that can be really hard. But I definitely recommend at least knowing where the soup kitchens are in your area and giving them a try if you feel that that is safe for you, because even if the food isn't that great, if you are hungry and that is a resource, then that might just be the best thing that you've got. I will say one thing about soup kitchens and safety. A month or so ago, my partner and I went to this soup kitchen that was serving shellfish and didn't say that that's what it was. And my partner's allergic to shellfish, and I actually unexpectedly had what seemed like an allergic reaction to it. And at first, we didn't know what it was we were eating. And as soon as my partner figured it out, he stopped, and then he went and talked to them and was like, hey, you guys should probably tell people that there's shellfish in this, because people like me have allergies, and this could really hurt somebody. Luckily, my partner's not, like, deathly allergic, but he can get sick. But if he was, that could have put him in the hospital, or worse, just a little bit that he had, and he would not have known until it was too late. So I definitely recommend, if you have allergies, asking the staff what's in the food, asking if it has had contact with stuff that you're allergic to, if it doesn't actually have that stuff in it, because a lot of those places, they are just not mindful of stuff like that, and they should be, and they put people's health at risk, and it's scary. So I just want to put that out there. I feel like I'm really rambly right now. Like I said, I'm in the midst of integration, and it's making this really difficult, but I hope that this is helpful for people in some way. Another thing that I want to talk about in this video is if you have dietary stuff, allergies in general, trying to get food. I know that this can be so difficult if you are limited due to stomach issues or allergies around what you can eat. For us, honestly, like we have severe acid reflux that can make eating a lot of foods that are provided by soup kitchens and just a lot of foods that are cheap in general can be inaccessible to us without causing us a lot of pain. Personally, we have gone the route of doing extensive energy work for the last few years and extensive trauma work in order to minimize the stomach issues that we have. We've personally found this possible. For the first couple years of it, we were in agony like all the time, but finally we learned how to shield ourselves from energetic attacks on a level that has greatly helped our stomach, because that was something that we've gone through, and we learned to process our emotions, process our trauma, both past and present, so that we were not so that it was not getting trapped in our stomach and causing us so much pain. I'm not saying that our issues were just entirely due to trauma, but I think 99% of them were, and we have made most of them go away, and now we are capable of eating foods that trigger our reflux, because it just does not trigger as badly as it once did. So like I said, I still feel like we have it severely, but we have learned to cope with our pain and minimize our pain through various techniques that have made it possible for us to eat a variety of foods that are not normally recommended for people with acid reflux. And that makes it possible for us to get by on the street in ways that we otherwise, things would just be a lot harder. So I know that that does not work for everyone. And I know that a lot of people have medical conditions that they absolutely need more around than just that. But I don't know. Honestly, there is energy work stuff that is so powerful. I am skeptical if there is anything that can't be cured by a powerful enough practice. Now, I think that there are things that could only be cured by an incredibly masterful practitioner on a level most people are just never going to get to, but I really do think there's a lot more. There's just so much that one can do with the mind. There really, really is. I've overcome things that most people would think impossible to overcome. And I really can't speak to the value of energy work enough. Okay, I feel like this video is getting long enough. Trying to think of what else. Of course, a really basic thing in general is just nutrition. We try not to be obsessive about getting good nutrition because we found that to be detrimental to our health, but we try to be mindful. We focus a lot on minimizing our sugar intake, a huge issue with being homeless, especially if you're relying on other people to provide your food, to specifically choose your food for you, is sugar. People love to give sugary food to you when you're homeless. This is something we've found, and we've seen happen in general to so many people, is how people just love to throw sugary sweets at us. And there is some value in that, absolutely. I'm not going to go too much into why. I know that a lot of people on the street have drug addictions, alcoholism, that makes it so that they crave a lot of sugar and don't usually want to eat much else. And so I think that's a huge part of why people give so much sugar to homeless people. But not all of us are addicts on the street. Not all of us can eat sugar, and we all need more nutrients than just that. So, that can be a challenge. But some staple foods that we think are good to have around, that we try to always have with us, peanut butter and bread. We also love bananas. Those can be gotten for super cheap, and they're specifically helpful for us with our acid reflux. Peanut butter banana sandwiches are like one of our go-tos. It's actually really hard for us because we have some real trauma around peanut butter due to MK stuff I'm not going to go into, but it's bad. And that can be difficult. Definitely people with lots of triggers around food. I know that this can be really hard. But I will say that, once again, through trauma work, we have made a lot of progress in opening ourselves up to eating a variety of foods, and we are able to eat a degree of peanut butter, and that is very helpful as it has a lot of protein and it's just generally a good homeless food. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you want to hear more about actual specific foods to eat, but I feel like I should just leave it at this for now. And anybody who wants to share stuff in the comments, to add to stuff I've said, I absolutely welcome that. Okay, thanks.